Thank you, Chair Granger and Chair Fleischman. It is always a joy to be with this subcommittee. I wish we ran the place, but we do our part. I also wanted to welcome Johnny Carter. I hope that your dad provides you with Round Rock donuts, because he's told us all about those. And I hope he gets them to your teams. We are here together tonight to mark up the fiscal year 2024 Energy and Water Development Bill. This bill focuses on Mother Nature, her awesome powers, and as well as her looming threats. The energy and water undergird our way of life and American progress. They are not optional, energy and water, but essential to sustaining life. I always stand ready to cooperate on a responsible energy and water bill when the majority produces a 2024 budget under regular order through the Budget Committee. That's their job. I know Chair Fleischman, I can't speak for him, but I know he's a regular order member as well. But this year we operate under disorder. So the task of producing a real budget is outside the purview of our subcommittee, but without it, unfortunately and regrettably, I must oppose this bill. Despite recently passing a highly irregular bipartisan debt deal that included a path forward on spending levels, unfortunately, the majority have chosen to turn their backs on those promises and cater to the most extreme minority of their party. This bill has no chance to become law, as it is written now. Americans don't want this standoff. I surely don't. They want us to work together, and we usually do, to do our work. To do our work, the larger Congress can't abandon regular committee order conducted in full sunlight, and but that happened this time because there was no regular budget, and we actually did not follow regular order for 302B allocations. The process we've been subjected to is not fair to any member, and we know that those decisions were not made by the Appropriations Committee. That is highly irregular and is destructive to our functioning as a body. Now, on particulars, the non-defense spending in this bill is $5.4 billion, or 22%, lower than last year's effective level. That is a huge, radical reduction. It imperils our nation's imperative to become energy independent here at home in perpetuity. It repeals over $5 billion for critical energy programs from the Inflation Reduction Act that would have helped America's families save money on energy, on their monthly bills. In many places like Ohio, and maybe where you live, natural gas rates are increasing because of Russia's impact on global supplies, and consumers are paying for that. A big driver we have heard for these cuts is to reduce deficits and the national debt. We all want to do that. I've served in Congresses where we did. However, the Biden administration and congressional Democrats have turned the debt curve in the right direction by ushering in a real growth economy with historic job growth that is producing more revenue to pay our debts down. This has not happened in a quarter century. The last time that happened was when Bill Clinton, when leaving office, turned over a balanced budget to the Congress of the United States. Coming out of the pandemic, America has really boomed back. What a credit to the American people, to the institutions and people who serve here who understood what needed to be done to pull out of the nosedive this country was in. With the Biden administration's significant economic growth, post-pandemic inflation is declining. Inflation comes from too much money following too few goods. And we've learned a whole lot more about supply chains during the pandemic. Too much has been outsourced and needs to be insourced again. But if we look at gas prices, they've been cut in half just since last year. Gas prices average $3.58 now, which is $1.39 less than a year ago. And in places like I come from, This week, gas costs $3.34. That's a heck of a lot better than $4.80. Our nation has been able to bend the curve on debt, and importantly, debt as a percentage of our gross domestic product has dropped in the last 2 years. For the first time since Bill Clinton sent that balanced budget to the Congress as we turned over the page to the 21st century from the 20th. You don't pay down legacy debt without growing our economy. And you can't cut into the sinew of our nation by underfunding key federal programs and stalling economic growth. You pay debts down by robust economic growth and job creation. Unfortunately, the proposed cuts by my Republican colleagues would take the country in the opposite direction. They target energy advances that reclaim our nation's energy independence from paying foreign suppliers. And without those cuts, we would propel our economy forward faster. At a time marked by water shortages, extreme weather events, and an increasing occurrence of natural disasters, this bill endangers efforts to address the climate crisis. California has faced more, get ready, than 13 atmospheric river events causing widespread flooding. Across the Southwest, the severe drought has resulted in the Colorado River crisis, the first time in American history that river's been diverted. Just last week, we saw a tornado strike in my hometown of Toledo, Ohio. And earlier this month, we experienced dangerous pollution across the eastern United States from Canadian wildfires. Climate change is increasing the size, frequency, and intensity of all these natural disasters. When I got home last week, I went out, I'm quite a little gardener, and I went out and my beautiful, beautiful flower bush in the back, I thought, why did those leaves turn brown? And I put my finger across the leaves. It was all of the scum from the wildfire smoke that had come down into our part of northern Ohio. It was really very peculiar. Those who believe they can ignore the forces of nature and the human species that rely on it are really misguided and treading on a very dangerous path. In this arena and era, we must place wisdom above timidity, invention above convention, and adaptation above ignorance. Energy is critical to sustaining our way of life. When energy costs rise, it hits hard and slams our economy. We feel it in our utility bills and in the cost of our weekly grocery runs. The Department of Energy has a proven track record. Fracking technologies developed by the department have allowed us to be a natural gas exporter. Department of Energy research has driven down the prices on clean energy technologies by 40 to 95% just since 2010. And I'm proud to represent the most significant domestic solar manufacturers in our nation. However, this bill's extreme budget cuts would impede American energy progress and national progress, resulting in higher energy costs, which is very damaging to economic growth. Shortchanging these programs pushes our nation backwards, failing to modernize our nation's electric grid, failing to advance innovation relative to our global competitors in materials and manufacturing science, and failing to build domestic end-to-end energy supply chains for jobs in America's new energy economy. The bill's extreme cuts would also increase dependence on foreign adversaries for energy supplies. Energy is our future. Energy independence is something that equates to American liberty. We can't jeopardize our nation's vital future energy sources and supplies. Stable yearly investments are the bare minimum that the American people deserve from our committee to keep critical programs like these on track. The Republicans' extreme cuts backpedal American progress and will set our economy back decades. In other areas of this bill, and I'm almost ready to close, I continue to be troubled by the unsustainable spending in the Department of Energy's weapons programs. And I think members of both parties understand what's going on here. While I wholeheartedly agree with Chair Fleischman that the NNSA needs to improve its program and project management, given that more than half of its projects are over cost or behind schedule, over half, we must also face the realities of future defense caps and begin making important decisions to prioritize within this program. Further, I'm concerned how this bill cuts nuclear nonproliferation programs that reduce nuclear risks and counter the global challenge of nuclear proliferation. And finally, the bill includes numerous controversial poison pill policy riders that show the majority party is really not interested in bills that can gain bipartisan support and become law. I'm not into charades in this committee. I'm getting into getting the job done. With that, I'll close my remarks and urge my colleagues to oppose this bill and await the day when level heads prevail. Let's return to legislative process with discipline, openness, and regular order. I also want to thank and state it has been a pleasure to work with Chair Fleischman, the members on both sides of the aisle on this committee. I thank my personal staff member, Maylee Boyce, who was not mentioned in the earlier gratitude call-outs, and also again, Scott McKee. Thank you so very much, and I yield back.